Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the story about Naruto. What if Naruto was banished from Konoha and become new Raikage of Kumo, part 4. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please do support for more awesome content and also hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and also support the creator of this fanfic. I have created many playlists, check it out in the channel. So let's start the video. 5 days later, in the middle of the mountain ranges of Kaminari no Kuni, Lightning Country, running through the mountain pass at high speed, a Kunoichi from Kumogakure, the village hidden in the clouds, was returning from the mission she had been on. She was a dark-skinned woman, like many in Kumo, with golden-colored eyes and long purple hair, which she keeps up in a ponytail. Her attire consists of a backless black sleeveless undershirt with an orange overshirt over the sleeveless undershirt with 2 white straps on each shoulder. She also wore a large beige sash around her waist like a belt with black stretch pants and long beige wrist warmers secured by bands and long beige leg warmers with brown light shoes. The name of the woman in question was Shimin Yoruichi, head of the Shimin clan, one of the founding clans of Kumo. Before the beginning of the civil war, her clan was among the only 5 known ninja clans that had a Kekkei Genkai in Kaminari no Kuni or Kumogakure, although that had changed after the civil war ended. Her clan ability was to each turn into a certain type of animal that matched their personality. For example, she could turn into a cat. This made her clan excellent infiltrators and recon scouts. During the civil war, she led her clan against the Godame Reikage and the corrupt Kaminari daimyo, Lightning daimyo, and was among the leaders of the rebel factions. During the civil war, she was called Kusoku Agent, Speed Mistress, too, due to her control over her chakra was so great that she could enhance her speed to an amazing degree, much like how Tsuan the Slug Princess could enhance her strength with her chakra control. When the civil war finally ended, she was made the captain of the Kumogakure Bolt unit by the Rakudame Reikage. Bolt was one of Kumogakure 4 Anbu divisions that were created by the Rakudame Reikage. Each division had its own name and its own responsibilities. The 4 divisions were Shock, Bolt, Signed, and Storm. Shock responsibilities mainly involved security, where they were in charge of protecting the village, as well as helping guard the borders of both Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni, Lightning Country, from enemy shinobis and spies from entering the village or even the country. Shock also acted as Kumo's onion, tracker nin, division, where they would track down and find any and all missing nins from Kumogakure, although Kumo did not have many missing nin even with the civil war, since nearly all the ninjas that sided with the Godame Reikage joined the Rakudame Reikage after the civil war ended, and they were forgiven for siding with the Godame Reikage. Hence, Shock duties mainly involved the security of Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni. Bolt 3 responsibilities were different from that of Shock. The Bolt division mainly dealt with assassination, where they would assassinate corrupted higher-rank officials from other countries, warlords who were trying to start rebellions in countries, and enemy ninjas. Not only that, but they also dealt with high-ranked infiltration missions and information-gathering missions if it was needed, as well. Signed was Kumogakure Intelligence Divisions, or otherwise known as the Central Intelligence Network Division, where they dealt with gathering information and intelligence on all non-alliance members or non-allied countries to the Heavenly Alliance, as well as other organizations that may threaten the Heavenly Alliance. They also dealt with counterintelligence, where, if any shinobi village or country tried to infiltrate Kumogakure or the Heavenly Alliance, they would find them and deal with them. They would even create false leads or false information for them to follow, which would eventually lead those shinobi villages or countries to dead ends or even misjudge the Heavenly Alliance strength and capability. Signed also dealt with torture and interrogation when gathering information from rogue ninjas and enemy spies. Storm was Kumogakure Elite Strike Force. They were the elite of the elite in Kumogakure. Although Storm had the smallest numbers out of all the other Anbu divisions in Kumogakure, the quality of shinobis in Storm more than made up for their lack of numbers. Storm training program was the harshest training program in the entire elemental continent, in which they went through a training program that was called the 2 months of hell, which would test even a highly skilled veteran shinobi to his very limits, if not beyond them. After which any of the surviving applicants that got through the 2 months of hell would then go through a hard year-long training program on teamwork, physical training, and training in sealing, as well as other types of training, before they would be full Storm members. The Storm agents answered to no one but the Raikage himself, in which none of the other councils of Kumogakure had any control over them whatsoever. Storm handled only the most dangerous and most important missions to Kumo that the other Anbu division in Kumagakure or other the shinobis in the village would be unable to handle themselves. Yoruchi was currently on her way back to Kumo after successfully sneaking into Mizuno Kuni, Water Country, and meeting with the leader of one of the rebel factions in Mizuno Kuni. Her mission was to make contact with the rebel factions and meet one of their leaders Satan Hajime the Kiri no Akami, the Wolf of the Mist, former leader of Kurigakure, Hidden Mist, Assassination Division. As well as a former member of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nananan SHK, 7 Swordsman of the Mist, who was famed for his mastery of the Sorrento Karingu, silent killing technique, where he would pounce on his enemies much like a wolf. His skill in Sorrento Karingu could only be matched by Momochi's abuse of the Kurigakure no Oni, the demon of the hidden mist. Satan was also a master in Mizuguchi Haito Ryu style, which was the perfect sword style for an assassin-type ninja like Satan. The Mizuguchi Haito Ryu style was one of the most lethal assassin sword styles to exist. It was mostly based on speed, and it uses brute force to eliminate any opponent. It is based on piercing the enemy with horizontal hits. Once Yoruchi met Satan, she was to offer him and the other rebel factions an alliance between the Heavenly Alliance and the rebel factions in Mizuno Kuni against the Gade Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo. When she did meet him, they talked for several hours, in which Satan and the rebel factions did not join in an alliance with the Heavenly Alliance against the Gade Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo due to they didn't fully trust the Heavenly Alliance wiliness to help her intentions. But Satan did agree to share information on the happenings in Mizuno Kuni, as well as any relevant information on the Gade Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo. In return, the Heavenly Alliance would agree to sneak in food, medicine, and other supplies to the rebel factions. Yoruchi knew this arrangement would be good enough for the Raikage, since he had told her before she had left that it was unlikely that the rebel factions would immediately agree to the alliance. Her main objective was to build communication link between the Heavenly Alliance and the rebel faction in Mizuno Kuni. But with the arrangement that she got, it would make for a strong stepping stone to build the alliance between the rebel factions and the Heavenly Alliance. As Yoruchi was running, she suddenly heard a puffing sound, and a sudden weight was felt on her right shoulder. When she stopped and looked to see what was on her shoulder, where she found her ninja cat summon for Hina on her shoulder. The cat was actually a small cute little white kitten with gray stripes on its back and had big dark blue eyes and wore a small little builder's helmet and a whistle around it. 5. If Yoruchi wasn't so used to seeing Hina, she would have gone kawaii and squeezed the little kitten to death at how cute it looked. "Hina, what are you doing here?" said a surprised Yoruchi. "I thought I told you to stay with Satan so that he can send us information or items through you," said Yoruchi with a slight frown, thinking that the little summon was slacking off on its mission. "But that's what I'm doing, mistress," said Hina in a cute little voice. "You have a message from Satan?" asked Yoruchi, surprised again. To which the just kitten nodded. "Well, what is it?" The scary-looking man, which caused Yoruchi to smile a little since Satan would look scary to most people, told me to tell you that he got some information that you might be interested in. He said that the princess of Yumi no Kuni, Sea Country, had been captured by ships sent by the Gade Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo 5 days ago when she was on her way to Tsuki no Kuni, Moon Country, for her wedding, Hina said. "What? Princess Sachi has been captured?" said Yoruchi in surprised. "Yea," the scary man said that the Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo plan to use the princess as a political hostage and force both Yumi no Kuni and Tsuki no Kuni to give control of their trade alliance to Mizu no Kun, as well as some other things. Where they would control all trade in the southern elemental seas, not to mention that they gain control of both countries' naval forces, giving Mizu no Kuni even more control over the seas, replied Hina. "Damn those bastards," cursed Yoruchi. "I knew we should have sent some of our own ships or men to guard the princess. If we had, this wouldn't have happened." Yoruchi then turned to the kitten again and asked, "Does Satan know where the princess is being held?" To which the kitten nodded and said, "Yea," he said that the princess is being held in the hold," answered Hina. "Damn it. It figures that they send the princess there at the strongest prison in Mizuno Kuni, since they hold nearly all the political prisoners in Mizuno Kuni there, as well as most of the rebels' ninjas that they captured," cursed Yoruchi. Scary Man also said that ninjas from Konoha are prisoners there, as well, said Hina. "Konoha ninjas are there too?" asked Yoruchi in surprised. "Yea," Scary Man said that they were supposed to protect her but got captured, as well, said Hina. "Huh. So much for the mighty Shionbis of Konoha," said Yoruchi with a tad bit of disgust in her voice, since she didn't have a very high opinion of Konoha shinobi. She turned to her summon. "Good work, Hina. I will summon you later and give you a treat later on. Also when you see Satan tell him I owe him one, said Yoruchi. That scary man said that too, said Hina. Which caused Yoruchi to raise her eyebrow in curiosity at what he meant. Scary man said that he wanted the Raikage and the Heavenly Alliance, as well as Yumi no Kuni and Tsuki no Kuni to owe him one, since he knows that you will want to rescue her, and replied Hina to her mistress's unspoken question. After hearing what he said, Yoruchi could not help but chuckle a little as she spoke. That sly bastard Satan, he a lot more cunning than I thought. Hina, you go back Satamoke, said Yoruchi. The kitten then nodded and left, after which once Hina was gone, Yoruchi quickly started to flow chakra into feet, in which she started to move so fast that she was nothing but a blur to the naked eye. 3 hours later. After 3 hours of non-stop running at her top speed, Yoruchi stopped when she was in the middle of the large mountain valley. She knew that she was near the village since she could see the genjutsu of clouds that cover Kumo right ahead of her. It was a special genjutsu that was created by one of the Raikage former senseis who was a master at genjutsu. The cloud cover genjutsu truly gave the village its name, as the village hidden in the clouds. Not even the famed Sharingan of the Ishida Clan that Konoha loved to brag about could see through this genjutsu. As she walked forward into the cloud cover genjutsu, she then felt 4 chakra signatures near her, although they were well hidden where even the most skilled shinobi could easily miss them if they were not looking out for them. She then stopped and spoke in a confident and calm voice. You can all come out now, I know you're there. As soon as she finished speaking, 4 Kumo shock shinobi appeared in front of her, all wearing their yellow animal-shaped masks with black lines around them shaping the face. Most of the Anbu divisions in Kumogakure wore animal masks to conceal their identities, but each division had different colors for their masks. Shock would wear masks with yellow and black, Bolt would wear masks with red and black, while Storm would wear masks with blue and black. While Sign didn't wear any, since they did not need to. Forgive us, Yoruchi-senpai, we did not realize it was you until just now. We did not expect you back till this evening or tomorrow morning at the latest, said the boar-masked shock member who was clearly the captain of the group. That's okay. I didn't plan to come back so quickly, but I have urgent information that the Raikage must know immediately, said Yoruchi in a serious tone which was unlike her usual cheerful and playful self that everyone knew her for. Knowing that it must be serious considering her tone, the shock members quickly allowed Yoruchi to walk through. As she continued to walk on, the genjutsu soon started to disperse, in which she could finally see the gates of Kumogakure, or, as many people would call it, New Kumogakure. The village in front of Yoruchi was not the original Kumogakure village, since that had been destroyed during the last battle against Agadame Raikage. After the civil war, the Rakudame Raikage had New Kumogakure built in this valley for several reasons. One of those reasons was because, like the original village, New Kumogakure had mountains on both sides, and there were few paths, both large and small, that led to the valley where the village was, and all were easily defendable. The village had mountains on both its sides and one large mountain behind it. The main front wall, or outer wall, of the village was at least 30 meters thick of solid stone and was 100 meters high, and the wall stretched from one end of the valley to the other. The main village gateway had a large metal gate that had 2 crouching dragons on either side of it. The gate would be left open during the day and closed at night, in which in the event of a siege the gate would be bolted down, and a Fuinjutsu called Fuin Tepeki, sealed iron wall, that was on the 2 dragon statues that flanked the entrance would activate, sealing the gate shut. As soon as Yoruchi went through the main entrance to the village, she started to run along the rooftops of the civilian district, which was not an uncommon thing to happen in the village since ninjas would often do that. As she ran, Yoruchi looked around New Kumogakure. She could not believe that they had built all this in just under 3 years, since they had only just fully finished building it a month or 2 ago. New Kumogakure was easily 5 times bigger than any other village in the elemental nations. The village itself was split into 4 large districts with a wall dividing each district. The inner walls themselves were nowhere near as thick as the main one, but were at least a few feet thick and quite strong, and were just as high as the outer wall. The first district, which was directly behind the outer wall, was the civilian district where the civilians lived, in whether they be rich or poor. All civilian lived in this district, in which they had their own schools, hospitals, gardens, parks, police force, and stores to shop, since this district was also where trading for goods was mainly done. The second district was the industrial district, where the village had its machinery built such as Kumo airships, war balloons, weapons, armor, siege weapons, trains, and other types of machinery. There were even several large landing platforms for the airships to land on in this district. The third district was the Shinobi District, where all shinobis and their families, as well as shinobi clans, lived in this district. And like the civilian district, the Shinobi District had their own academies to learn their ninja skills. Civilians were also allowed to join if they wanted to. Hospitals, as well as weapons and gears stores to get equipment from. There was even a large stadium built for tournament fights and the Chunin exams. The fourth and final district was the ruling district, where the Raikage was in, as well as the daimyo, due to the fact that during the civil war, the former daimyo Yoshiaki burned down the palace and the capital of Kaminari no Kuni when he realized that he was losing the civil war and didn't want it to fall into rebel hands. After the civil war, when New Kumogakure was being built, it was decided that the new palace of the daimyo would be built in New Kumogakure and rule the county from New Kumogakure, although New Kumogakure itself would still be ruled by the Raikage, in which the daimyo could not interfere with anything that went on in the village unless it greatly affected the daimyo or the rest of the people of Kaminari no Kuni. When Yoruchi arrived at the ruling district, she looked up at the Raikage Tower, or to be more precise, the Raikage Mountain Tower, since the Raikage Tower was the mountain that was directly behind the village. The Raikage had tunneled into the mountain and hollowed it out to allow people to be in it, in which he then spent several months making it suitable for people to work in it, since the tower would be the main focus point for everything that happens in the village, whether it being civilian matter or shinobi matter. Whenever she looked at it, Yoruchi could not help but laugh, remembering when the Raikage first told her his plans for New Kumogakure and what he would do. She remembered how she called him, and Baka thought he could do that. She also remembered how he just laughed and said that he would be able to do that and build New Kumogakure in just under 3 years, after which she replied that if he did do that in that time frame, she would tongue kiss her former second-in-command SOIFON6 in public. Thinking of which she could not help but then laugh at all the men that had gone to the hospital due massive nasal hemorrhaging when she did it, not to mention Soifin could look at her in the face for a week after it without blushing of embarrassment. Since not only had the Raikage done what he said he did, he even tunneled into the sides of the other mountains on New Kumogakure side and made the sides of the mountains into docking ports for the Kumo airships. He also made several underground tunnels and bunkers under the village for the Kumo Anbu units, and underground tunnels and bunkers for the civilians to use should the village come under attack. She also remembered several times when foreign dignitaries from other members of the Heavenly Alliance came to New Kumogakure, and they would gaze at it in wonder, where they would often ask how he was able to build this massive size village, or city, as some would call it, so quickly, in which the Raikage would just laugh each time and reply jutsus can be used for more than just fighting. Yoruchi quickly went into the Raikage Tower mountain through the massive double stone doors that had 2 giant stone tigers flanking the doorways, in which the 2 stone tigers had few intepeki on them so that the doorway would be sealed shut when needed. When inside it was not wanted, most people would expect it to be, instead of being dark, dank, and cold. The main hall of the tower mountain looked like a palace hall. In the middle of it was a beautiful foundation with cool clear water and statues made of pure marble that resembled dragons, tigers, and falcons. There were benches made of solid marble in which the seats themselves were covered in soft leather. Light was coming through several large openings and was distributed all over the halls by both water and special light-emitting crystals that glowed softly, giving the tower mountain a very soft but strong amount of light. The walls were smooth and covered in small gems and inlaid with copper mirrors which appeared to be well polished, as well as silver and gold designs that made the place even more grandiose than before, and in the areas were healthy trees and bushes giving out a sweet scent to the tower mountain. The floors were made from tiles that combined marble, jade, and smooth limestone and were very strong. All in all, the main hall was impressive to say the least. When a person looked up, they would see all the different floor levels, where different departments were on each level dealing with the different affairs in the running of the village, both civilian and shinobi matters. There were stairs and even lifts to get a person up to certain levels faster, which was a good thing since the Raikage Tower mountain was always busy with activity. At the top roof point of the tower mountain was a large glass dome that was directly above the fountain and shone more light down on it and the rest of the tower. It also allowed the stones in the fountain to sparkle in the light. Not only was Tower Mountain magnificent in the inside, it was also easily defendable, where just 3 squads of ninjas could easily hold out for months against an enemy army, since the main doors were made of stone. And when shut, could take massive poundings. They even had special seals on it that made them highly resistant against most jutsu. The inside of the tower was also covered 10 feet of solid rock. There was even several small openings for the defenders to fire arrows, spears or jutsu from down on the enemy, as well as many traps inside the tower for the enemy which could be activated should the enemy be able to breach the doors or somehow enter in Tower Mountain. Yoruichi quickly got on one of the lifts and soon arrived at the Raikage office, which was at the top floor of the Tower Mountain. She greeted his secretary Ice Nanao, who was an old friend of hers, after which Nanao told her to go right ahead into his office. The Raikage office was simple. It was a large double-O circular-shaped room with his desk facing the main double door to his office and with a large window behind the desk so that the Raikage could look out the window and over the village. On both sides of the wall of the circular room in front of the Raikage desk were bookshelves filled with scrolls and books, as well as a small spiral stairs that would allow the Raikage to go to the platform of the second level of his bookshelves, as well as go onto the balcony that was right above the Raikage desk. It was then when she looked up to her left on the second level of the bookshelves that she saw him reading a scroll, after which she made herself notice, since he had yet to do so, since he was focused on the scroll he was reading. When he did notice her, he looked up and had a small smile on his face. He then spoke. "Good day, Yoruichi. I'm surprised that you arrived back so soon. I did not expect you back till at least this evening. I trust that the talks with the Satan Hajime went without much difficulty," said the Raikage politely as he made his way down the spiral stairs and seated himself in his seat behind his desk facing her. There was no real problem with the talks, although Satan and the rebel factions were hesitant to join forces with us, as you expected. But I was able to arrange an agreement with Satan, where in return for supplies of food, medicine, as well as a few other things, he and the other rebel factions are willing to give us detailed information on the Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo, which includes any and all plans that they are making and information of their military strength, said Yoruichi. This caused the Raikage to smile, since he knew that the information from Satan and his people would be very useful in the near future against a Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo, not to mention that this arrangement with the rebel factions would be an important stepping stone for a full alliance with them. Good work, Yoruichi, you did an excellent job. I knew you would, even if the rebel factions in Mizunai Kuni are not fully allied with us. They are at least willing to share information with us, and with this agreement we can slowly gain their trust, and where we can then get a full alliance with them later on, said the Raikage. Raikage-sama, there's something else that you should know. Princess Sachi of Yumi no Kuni has been captured by the Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo forces 5 days ago, said Yoruichi. What? Shouted the Raikage in disbelief. Yoruichi then went and explained what her summon Hina had told her about what had happened to the princess. When she finished, the Raikage spoke in a serious tone of voice. Yoruichi, did you give Satan the projection ball like I asked you to? Yes, of course, answered Yoruichi. I even showed him how it works and what to do, she continued. Raikage nodded and then went and opened up a small box on his desk. In the box was a small glass ball that had several seals carved on it. The ball was small enough to fit perfectly in the palm of his hand. Although the Raikage was not the type of person to brag about how skilled he was, he had to compliment himself on his skills in creating the projection ball. The projection ball worked as a two-way communication link for the Raikage, where he needed to speak to one of his commanders or the leaders of an alliance member country or an allied country. All he would need to do would be to place the ball in his hand and think of the person he wanted to speak with, in which the other person ball would start to glow and heat up, telling them that someone wanted to speak to them, in which once they picked up the ball in their hand, an astral projection of the Raikage would appear in front of them, as would an astral projection of them appear to the Raikage. It would even work for other holders of the projections balls, where they could not only make contact with the Raikage, but they could also make contact with one another. It also had a security measure where when a person first gets a projection ball, all they need to do would be to spread some of their blood on the ball, and it would connect them with the other projection balls. And the ball they got would only work for them, since it only works for the person whose blood was spread on it first. The projection ball was based on a jutsu that he read about in one of his old sensei scrolls that was called the Gentenshin no Jutsu, Magic Lantern Body Technique. Although the scroll explained the basic of how the jutsu worked, it did not tell him how it was done, in which the Raikage then spent several years creating his own version of it with seals which in the end proved successful. The Raikage quickly picked up the projection ball and closed his eyes and then reopened them again when an astral projection of Satan Hajime appeared in front of them. So this is how this thing works. I hate to admit it, but this is an impressive piece of Fuinjutsu, commented Satan, in which he then looked up at the Raikage and raised his eyebrow. Huh. So you're the famed Rakudame Raikage. I have been hearing so much about the famed the Raiden no Kami, the god of thunder and lightning, or, as many shinobi and Kiri call you, the Arashi no Oni, the demon of storms. I have to admit I pictured someone a bit different from all the stories I heard about you, especially that rumor I heard recently where you defeated said Satan. But before he could continue, the Raikage interrupted him. Forgive me, Satan-san, but as much as I like to have a pleasant conversation with you about the things you heard about me, I must interrupt you since I wish to speak to you about the information that you had sent to Yoruchi, spoke the Raikage seriously. Fine. What is it that you want to know? Asked Satan. I would like you to give me a more detailed account on what happened and what the Mizukage and the Mizu Daimyo are planning on doing, since I guessing what you told to Yoruchi was just a basic overview of what happened, said the Raikage. Satan just nodded and then spent the next half hour explaining in detail what had happened since an agent of one of the rebel factions in Mizuno Kuni was on board one of the ships when they attacked the princess ship. He also told them the names of Konoha ninjas that had been captured with her and that they were all being held in the hold Mizuno Kuni strongest prison. When Satan finished, the Raikage thanked him and told him that he would send medical and food supplies to him and his forces within 2 weeks and said that he may call on him for more information soon, which Satan just nodded and his astral projection disappeared. When Satan's astral projection disappeared, a hardened look came across his face. Yoruchi knew this look well, since she had fought with him in many battles during the Civil War. During the Civil War she became close friends with the Raikage and was considered one of his closest friends, as did she. Hence she was able to know when he was angry or extremely serious about something, and the look on his face told her that he was planning something big and it would be serious. The Raikage quickly called for his secretary Nanao, in which she quickly entered the room. Nanao, I want you to send a message to all shinobi commanders and all major shinobi clan heads, as well as Lady Daimyo Kicho and Sensei. I want you to tell them that we are convening a war council in 2 hours' time, ordered the Raikage. This of course got a surprise gasp from both women, since there had not been a war council since the country finally stabilized when the Raikage was able to get all the remaining forces of the Godame Raikage and Daimyo Yoshiaki to surrender and join the rebel factions. The only reason a war council would be held would be either to declare war on another country or to plan a major military operation, either of which was possible right now. It took a few minutes for the two women to get out of their shock states, but they eventually did, in which Nanao quickly nodded her head and went to do what the Raikage ordered. The Raikage then turned to Yoruchi and told her to go get a bite to eat and have a shower and be ready for the war council, since she would be expected there, after which the woman nodded and left the office, leaving the Raikage alone with his thoughts. Things are moving much faster than I had expected them to, but if I plan this right I can turn this to our advantage, and the Heavenly Alliance will have a few new members, as well as a new ally, thought the Raikage, as he started to work on the plan to rescue the princess and make both Kumo and the Heavenly Alliance stronger. 2 hours later, in the War Council room. The War Council room of Kumo was a large room inside the Raikage Tower Mountain. It had a 30-foot tall entrance with 2 equally sized double wooden doors to close it to outsiders. Inside the middle of the room was a large wooden round table that would allow up to 30 people to sit around it. One of the chairs around the table was larger than the others and more elegant in design. That seat was reserved for the Raikage. There was also another seat behind the Raikage seat, which was on a large stone pedestal with a seat on it which overlooked the War Council table. This seat was for the daimyo, in which the daimyo would be allowed to watch over the council meeting if she wished to, and could add her input if it was required or asked. Also on the wall of the council room on the right-hand side of the War Council table was a map of the elemental continent and the entire island nations near it. The room itself also had seals in it to prevent anyone outside the room from hearing what was being said or what was going on in the room. Yoruchi was the first person to arrive in the War Council room, and, as she entered, the 2 storm members guarding the door saluted her, which she replied in just. She then went and took her seat and put up her legs on the table to wait for the others to arrive, which was not long, since about 2 minutes after she arrived in the room her former second-in-command Soifin entered the room. Soifin was a relatively short and petite woman with lightly tanned skin and black hair. She wore sleeveless white haori and a yellow obi tied around her waist. Underneath it she wore a traditional ninja outfit that had no sleeves and didn't cover her back. Her hair was worn short with 2 long braids covered in cloth. Soifin and Yoruchi had been friends for many years even before the beginning of the civil war in Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni. Before the civil war Yoruchi was at Anbu captain of Kumo's assassin division. Much like Wanshi was now Soifin had joined her division as a young gifted prodigy who saw Yoruchi as her hero and idol. Yoruchi later on took her on as an apprentice in which they grew close and Yoruchi saw her as a younger sister while Soifin thought of her as both an older sister and her idol. When the civil war started Soifin followed Yoruchi along with many others from Yoruchi division and fought for the rebels. After the civil war ended Soifin became the captain of the shock division. But even though they were equal rank Soifin continued to regard Yoruchi as her superior and continued to call her Yoruchi-sama, which annoyed Yoruchi since she hated being called by old traditional titles like Sama, and Soifin knew that well. "Hello Yoruchi-sama, it's good to see you back," said Soifin politely. Yoruchi just signed and said, "How many times do I have to tell you, Soifin, to stop calling me that we are equal rank now, and even when I took you as my apprentice I told you not to call me that. You know how much I hate being called by those stuffy old title names, even that husband of yours doesn't like being called like that when he off duty. But what's wrong with calling you Yoruchi-sama? Yoruchi-sama? I'm only showing you respect, Yoruchi-sama. You can't possibly hate being called Yoruchi-sama that much? Yoruchi-sama?" said Soifin with a small smirk on her face when she saw Yoruchi eyebrow twitch with annoyance since she loved to annoy her like this after all the times Yoruchi used to tease and annoy her, since Soifin knew how much things like that annoyed her former sensei and surrogate big sister. Yoruchi just sighed again with annoyance and said, "I swear you're getting more and more like that husband of yours, especially when he gets in the mood to annoy someone. Whatever happened to that stiff-ass young girl who always followed orders and didn't question why and hardly ever lightened up? I believe she left after a few years of being your apprentice, since a bit of you had to rub off on me, as well as when I got married," answered Soifin with a small smile, after which the 2 women then started to laugh a bit but soon after stopped and got serious. "So the war council has finally been called again, do you know why?" asked Soifin, to which Yoruchi nodded and said, "Yes, I do, but I believe that it is best to wait till he and all the others arrive, since he can give you the full details of what is happening and what he plans to do." Soifin just nodded, understanding that she would find out what was happening soon enough. The 2 women were soon joined by Hayabusa Rick, head of the Storm Anbu division of Kumo, as well as head of the Hayabusa clan. Although the Hayabusa clan held no blood limit, they were the best assassins and fighters in all of Kumo, which Yoruchi knew well, since most of her best men and women were from that clan. The Hayabusa clan ninjas also made up a large fraction of the Storm division as well. This was because at a very young age all children in the Hayabusa clan were trained to be shinobis, where they went through harsh training so that they would be as strong and skilled as they could be. The clan was also extremely loyal to the Raikage due to the fact that during the civil war the Hayabusa clan sided with the rebels, in which at a late point in the war the Godame Raikage found the secret base of Hayabusa clan where their families stayed. He then tricked most of the clan's shinobi to leave it, in which he sent a large force of his ninjas to attack the base and destroy it, and captured as many of the women and children as possible, so to hold them as hostages, so to force the Hayabusa clan to fight for him and control them. Fortunately, the Raikage had been near the base and was able to drive back the Godame forces, and when the Hayabusa clan shinobis returned and found out what happened, Hayabusa Joe, Rick father and clan head of the Hayabusa clan, before he was killed in battle near the end of the civil war, swore a blood oath that he and his clan would serve and protect the Raikage and his future clan until they repaid the debt that they owed him for saving their families. Despite his age, Rick had the demeanor of a man far older than himself and often spoke with great wisdom, which many people would stay silent to listen to. This was due to his prolific lineage and mantle of station as the head of a highly respected shinobi clan in Kumo, as well as in other nations. His exploits from the Civil War and before it had given him an attitude far removed from most others, and he understood things in more abstract and philosophical terms. He had a tranquil nature, much akin to water, free-flowing most of the time, but unforgiving and crushing when roused, in which many people would often try and stay on his good side. Although not often, he would join many shinobi commanders in a few social drinks of sake now and again. He was even married to the daughter of the head of the Mugen Tenshin ninja clan Kasumi, since both their clans had always good strong relations with one another. Rick wore a tight black leather outfit with no sleeves, black leather boots, fingerless gloves on his hands, gauntlets on his arm, a cape on his back, and wore a mask to cover most of his face, as well as wear his own clan unique headband with the Kumo symbol on it. He also carried a sword on his back and eyes on his left leg. Altogether, Rick was dressed like what most people expected a ninja to look like, which was not surprising since the Hayabusa clan took their title as a ninja clan very seriously. When Rick saw both women, he greeted them politely and then settled down in his seat on the table. Soon after, they were joined by Shiden, leader of the Mugen Tenshin clan, who were among Kumo top ninja clans. They were well known for their unique fighting styles, the Tenjin Mon and the Hajin Mon, which allowed them to gain incredible strength and power. Like Hayabusa clan, the Mugen Tenshin clan fought with the rebel factions due to their close ties with the Hayabusa clan, which only got stronger with the marriage between his daughter Kasumi and Rick. Just after Shiden arrived, two other people arrived. They were Akechi Mitsuhide and Miyashi Sayuri. Akechi Mitsuhide was the company chief of operations for all the shinobi forces, where he would help decide who would go on what missions and could only be overruled by the Reikage. Also, should the Reikage be unable to run or organize the shinobi forces, Mitsuhide would take full control of the shinobi forces. Mitsuhide was a very handsome man. Despite being in his early 30s, he still looked like a man in his mid-20s. He had a narrow but well-sculpted face and had long black raven-colored hair and clear blue eyes. Mitsuhide wore white shinobi pants with silver knee pads and boots. He also wore a white shirt with silver samurai-like armor and had a white cloak and carried a long katana that he called Gilded Talon. Mitsuhide was also one of the first teachers to the Raikage back before he became Reikage. Mitsuhide was a former member of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nanan and SHK, Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Before he became a missing nin, Mitsuhide was credited with being one of the greatest prodigies of his time in Kiri, since at age 13 he became head of the Onion Division. When he was 15, he became a Jonin and a member of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nanan and SHK. It was also said that he was a prodigy of the sword, in which he mastered at a very young age the fighting style of his clan, the Takakaiwa Kauka, the Swooping Hawk. He also earned the nickname of Shiratakai no Kiri, Mist White Death, since he wore a white cloak and armor. During his time as head of the Onion Division, virtually all of Kiri missing nin were eliminated within weeks of going rogue. But after he went rogue himself, the efficiency of Kiri Onion Division went down greatly, which caused for Kiri to have the highest amount of missing nin from its village than in any other shinobi nation. Mitsuhide also had a dijutsu called the Takagen Hawkeye, which gives the user the ability to see great distances, keep up with great speeds, see through genjutsu, and see through objects, much like the Hyuga clan Byakugan and the Uchiha clan Sharingan, as well as allowing the user to hit an object with 99.99% accuracy, no matter how small or how far the object was, which was why the Akechi clan were so famed in Kiri as assassins. Mitsuhide was also one of the few in his clan to activate the second level of the Takagen, which allowed the user to see even greater distance than before, but also allowed him to see an object or person weakest points, which, if hit, he could destroy a boulder with just hitting it weak point with a single strike, as well as disable or even kill a person with one strike, whether it be a hand strike or a sword strike, by seeing the weakest point of their body. Unfortunately, Mitsuhide was also the last of his clan, since during the early parts of the Bloodline Crusade in Kiri, his clan was wiped out, in which he was forced into hiding until near the end of the crusade, where he avenged his clan by killing 300 Bloodline Hunters, which was nearly the entire Bloodline Hunter division, in a single night when they were at their main base in Kiri. After the attack, Mitsuhide was declared an S-rank missing ninja, with an engaged with caution warning on him. Later on, during the civil war in Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni, he won great fame and respect when he joined the rebel factions of Kaminari no Kuni and Kumo, as well as earned the nickname Kumo no Shirataka, White Falcon of Cloud. The woman with Mitsuhide was his longtime childhood friend and partner Miyashi Sayuri, who, like Mitsuhide, helped to train the Reikage back before he became the Reikage. Also like Mitsuhide, she was the company chief of operations for all the shinobi forces. She was also formerly of Kiri, where she was his genin partner back when they were younger. Both rose through the ranks and both became members of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nanan and SHK. Like Mitsuhide, Sayuri was a highly gifted shinobi in which she mastered the sword art of dual-bladed sword fighting. She also had a bloodline called Shitakiri Kitai, the mist body vapor, which allows her to turn her body into a mist-like vapor. When in this form she couldn't be harmed by any physical weapon, and it allows her to go through even the smallest of cracks and holes to infiltrate enemy bases, forts, and castles. She could also enter a person's body through their mouth and drain all the liquids from the person's body, leaving the person nothing more than a dry husk. This of course made the Miyashi clan valuable infiltrators and assassins, and like the Akechi clan, her clan had been wiped out quickly by the bloodline hunters, in which later on she avenged her clan by killing the entire Kiri council who supported the Yonde Mizukage slaughter of bloodline users and had ordered her clan's massacre. After slaughtering the Kiri council, Sayuri was made an A-rank missing ninja, and like Mitsuhide had engaged with caution warning on her. Back when she was with Kiri, Sayuri was known as the Kiri no Shinkudakai, Crimson Death of Mist, and when she joined the rebel factions in Kaminari no Kuni and Kumo, she became known as Shinjeki no Kumo, Cloud's Crimson Mist. Sayuri wore brown leather pants with brown leather boots. She also wore a white midriff top with long sleeves that showed her figure quite nicely and had a short cloak. She also carried short curved swords that she had holsters for each one on her legs. Sayuri had a sharp yet attractive face, short crimson red hair in which it fell down her face slightly and covered the left-hand side of her face, and she had bright green eyes. It had also been greatly rumored that both Mitsuhide and Sayuri were lovers, since neither were very often seen without the other, while others just believed that they were close friends, but no one had the courage to ask them straight out since they did not want to get on either of their bad sides. Both Mitsuhide and Sayuri greeted the members who had already entered the war council room and took their seats near the Reikage seat. Not long after Mitsuhide and Sayuri, 3 more people arrived. They were Zhu Yu, Gan Ning, and Sun Li. All 3 of them commanded aspects of Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni naval forces. Gan Ning was the leader of the Ning clan and commander of the Kumo fleet. He was also the best sea captain in all of the Heavenly Alliance and was also a former sea pirate. He was originally from Kiri and was from the Ning clan, who painted animal tattoos on their bodies and used special jutsus that were used by only their clan that allowed the animals on their bodies to come to life, much like CHMJK Giga, viz. Super Beast's imitation picture, and return to their bodies when they were destroyed or were called back to their wielder. They could also control the animals with their thoughts and see what their animals could see as well. When the Bloodline Crusade began, his clan fled Mizu no Kuni since they feared people would consider their clan jutsu as a bloodline and start to attack them. The Ning clan fled to a small island where they were forced to become pirates so that they would survive. During the civil war in Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni, he and his men tried to raid a dock belonging to one of the rebel factions but were captured by Denku, the name the Raikage went by before he became the Reikage. When Gan Ning explained why he was raiding their dock, Denku gave him a choice: become the new leader of the rebel faction's fleet and have his clan join the rebel factions and have a chance of having a new home to live in, or spend the rest of his life in prison while his clan would be hunted down and destroyed by Kiri or some other nation, or starve to death with no food or supplies. Gan Ning had little choice but to agree. During the Civil War, he won great fame for his seafaring skill and ability to command ships and men, as well as leading raids on docks and ships belonging to Daimyo Yoshiaki and the Godame Raikage. After the Civil War ended, Gan Ning was made commander of the Kumo fleet and captain of his own ship. Personality-wise, Gan Ning was a man of action who didn't like to adjust to proper etiquette. He was also wild and fearless, as well as a brilliant leader of men, and was only really satisfied with a good brawler battle. He was also confident in his abilities and, though he seemed arrogant, he had a good head on his shoulders and proved it many times in battle and knew when to rely on teamwork. However, he was fickle about who he took orders from, although there were several people he did not mind taking orders from, for example the Raikage, since Gan Ning respected him a great deal. Gan Ning wore loose-fitting shinobi-like pants and normal boots. He also wore a sleeveless vest and a ribbon that acted as a belt for him. He also had bandages around his stomach and worn the Kumo headband around his head. He even worn bells around his neck, say that they allow his enemies to know when the bell tolls for them. Gan Ning had brown spiky hair and had a roguish-looking face. He also had tattoos of animals all over his body. He even carried a large curved sword that looked like a large cutting knife, and he called the sword Leviathan. Sun Li was the commander of Kumo submarine fleet, an underwater shinobi fighting force Aqua, which was a force created to counter Kiri underwater fighting force Shark. Sun Li was originally from a well-off sea merchant family, and when the civil war started her family sided with the Godame Raikage and Daimyo Yoshiaki, while she herself joined the rebel factions and became a very skilled shinobi. During the Civil War she became an excellent commander of men, and due to her experience in ships, and was the one who suggested to create Kumo-owned counter forces of underwater fighters which she was given command of, as well as command of Kumo submarine fleet, when the Civil War ended. Personality-wise Sun Li was an upbeat and independent woman who was considered to be tomboyish by many people. She was loving and loyal to her friends and family who were pardoned for siding against the rebel factions. She was always eager to lend a helping hand to others and frequently wanted to prove her worth in battle which often caused her husband to worry. Sun Li was also very beautiful. She had short brown hair and emerald green eyes and a curvy body. Her clothing also reflected her personality since it gave her a tomboyish look. She had a tight red top and shorts with matching socks and shoes and wore a Kumo headband on her head with the symbol cloth being red instead of brown. Zhuyu was the supreme commander of all Kaminari no Kuni naval forces, and although he mainly only commanded Kaminari no Kuni naval forces, under wartime emergency or events he would be given overall command of Kumos and all the other members of the Heavenly Alliance naval forces. This was due to the fact that Zhuyu was one of the most brilliant naval strategic commanders in the elemental continent. He was also highly skilled in the ninja arts of combat, but was not a ninja of Kumo. He was also a highly skilled user in fire techniques. During the Civil War Zhuyu fought for Daimyo Yoshiaki, and he commanded his fleets, as well as Kumo despite not liking either Daimyo Yoshiaki or the Godame Raikage. He remained loyal to them due to they were still the rightful rulers of Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni, in which he won the many naval victories, as well as nearly destroying the rebel fleet on severely occasions during the Civil War, and kept the seas of Kaminari no Kuni virtually completely under Daimyo Yoshiaki and the Godame Raikage control. It was not until Inisu, the famed Kumo no Usuryu, Ice Dragon of Kumo, and Gan Ning joined the rebel factions did the tide turn against him, in which during the Battle of Eagle's Peak, most of his fleet had been destroyed by Inisu. When the Civil War ended, Zhuyu had been taken prisoner, in which he was later on offered the rank Supreme Commander of Kaminari no Kuni naval forces, which naturally caught him by surprise since he had expected to be executed or in prison for the rest of his life for siding against the rebel factions. It was later on that he learned that despite the fact he fought against them, he had earned a great deal of respect from the Raikage and other rebel factions due to always taking prisoner from destroyed enemy ships instead of letting them drown, giving plenty of food, clothing, and medical supplies for the prisoners, and always fought with honor and allowed enemy ships to surrender and did not fire on retreating ships or civilian ports and ships carrying civilians like some fleet commanders did. Personality-wise he was a man who valued honor most of all. He was also very loyal to his friends and country, as well as a very intelligent man and a keen strategist. He was also a lover of music and was known for playing the flute extremely well. Zhuyu was also an extremely attractive man. He had long brown hair, dark brown eyes, and was very handsome, where many girls tried to win his affection. He wore traditional clothing for someone of the royal court. 7. Zhu also wielded a straight thin narrow sword with a red dragon carved on the blade. All three quickly sat down, greeting the people who were in so far in their own way, with a slight nod of the head in greeting from Zhuyu, a friendly smile from Sun Li, and a grin Gan Ning. The remaining other 7 clan heads entered right after Zhuyu, and the others they were Kachiki Byakuya of the Kachiki clan, Godin Kisaragi of the Kisaragi clan, Kai Wengi of the Wengi clan, Ishida Riken of the Ishida clan, Tatara Raito of the Tatara clan, Ikki Nadi of the Ikki clan, and Zhao Yun of the Yun clan. Godin Kisaragi was leader of the Kisaragi clan. He was a fiercely proud man, as were his clan members. They had fled their country Wutai when it was conquered by a more powerful country, in which they became a wandering clan. It was just when the civil war in Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni ended and the rebuilding and stabilization of the country was beginning that Godin Kisaragi and his clan offered their services to help the country in return of allowing them to stay, in which both Lady Daimyo Kicho and the Raikage agreed to. The Kisaragi clan was well known for having several very powerful summoning contracts that they could use, which made them quite powerful in their own right. Kai Wengi was the leader of the Wengi clan. She was a powerful woman who had an aura of strength and nobility around her and was well respected by everyone. She was a powerful Genjutsu mistress, as well as an extremely powerful wind mistress. Kai Wengi was a woman of strong conviction and always did what she believed to be best for her clan, no matter what it cost her. She also valued loyalty and showed respect to those who she believed worthy of it. Originally she and her clan were from Suna, but were forced to leave the village when they learned that the Yondaime Kazekage was planning to have them killed and claimed that they were traitors. For about 14 years Kai Wengi and her clan wandered around the elemental continent, where they eventually joined in the civil war in Kumo and Kaminari no Kuni with the daimyo Yoshiaki and the Godaime Raikage, with the promise of a new home and a position as a powerful clan when the civil war ended. Although when they lost they were forgiven by the Rakudaime Raikage, and he offered them the same deal which the Wengi clan accepted and swore loyalty to the Raikage since they had been touched by the Raikage forgiveness and generosity. Although it was not well known, the reason why the Wengi clan fled Suna was because the Wengi clan had been the guardians of the demon Ichibi no Shukaku, one-tailed Shukaku, and were sworn to keep it from harming the people of Suna. After seeing the destruction that the former host of the Ichibi no Shukaku caused, the Wengi clan pleaded with the Sandaime Kazekage to not create another Jinchuriki, since all it would do would drive the host mad like it did to the monk that the Ichibi no Shukaku was sealed in, and create another unstable Jinchuriki that would threaten Suna. The Sandaime Kazekage eventually agreed to seal up the demon back into the tea kettle, but when the Sandaime Kazekage disappeared, secretly killed by Saso-ri, and replaced by the Yondaime Kazekage, the agreement was nullified. The Yondaime Kazekage sealed the Ichibi no Shukaku into his newborn son despite the Wengi clan objections and warnings. Eventually, when the Yondaime Kazekage realized that the Wengi clan had been right all along, he ordered for his son to be killed, but all attempts failed. When the Wengi clan heard what the Yondaime Kazekage was planning, they offered to take Gaara into their clan and train him and help him control the Ichibi no Shukaku, since they saw how bad his life was and how he struggled to control his power and knew he wasn't a demon, and they felt responsible for him. But the Yondaime Kazekage forbid this, since back when he had the Ichibi no Shukaku first sealed into his son, he forbid that any member of the Wengi clan to come near his son. The reason for this was because the Yondaime Kazekage feared that the Wengi clan would use their knowledge of the Ichibi no Shukaku and build a bond between Gaara and their clan, in which they would train him to become a weapon for them to use to take control of the village for them. Eventually, the Yondaime Kazekage had ordered for the Wengi clan to be wiped out under the guise that they were planning a coup d'etat. Fortunately, they were able to find out about it before the order could be carried out. They had even tried to take Gaara with them, but on the night they fled, Gaara's uncle Yashimaru tried to kill him under the orders of his father, and the men that were sent to take Gaara could not get near him since he became completely unhinged by his uncle's betrayal and attack, and could not get near him, which resulted in them leaving him in the village. The Wengi clan also were the only people known, except for Gaara, to be able to use Sabuton, sand release. It was believed that due to their knowledge of the Ichibi no Shukaku and its abilities that they knew how to do Sabuton, although despite this knowledge, they are not able to use Sabuton to the same level as Gaara could. Kai Wengi wore 8. She also carried a long straight narrow sword and a large battle fan on her back. Kachiki Byakuya was the leader of the Kachiki clan, which was one of the founding clans of the Kumo and one of the 5 clans in Kaminari no Kuni or Kumo that had a Kekkei Genkai, although that had changed after the civil war ended. The Kachiki clan had a bloodline that was similar to the of T-Shadaime Hokage Mokuten would release. Their abilities was to be able to control plants and do plant jutsu. The ability was called Kaubaton, plant release. Similar to the Shadaime Hokage Mokuten, the Kaubaton allowed a person to create plants out of the ground and control them in any way they wished to. They could even create giant plants that could devour a man if they wished to. Although despite their ability, only a quarter of the clan could do it, with the majority being unable. The only ability that all members of the Kachiki clan shared was their high control over their chakra. Byakuya was a very handsome man, where many women from important families often tried to gain his attention, but failed since he had never gotten over the loss of his wife during the Civil War. During the Civil War, the Kachiki clan fought for the Godaime Raikage. Due to despite what he did, he was still the rightful leader of Kumo, but eventually when they learned some of the other crimes that the Godaime Raikage and Daimyo Yoshiaki had done, after which they sided with the rebels factions near the end of the Civil War and helped give them valuable information on the Godaime Raikage and Daimyo Yoshiaki plans. Byakuya himself was by far the most powerful and gifted member of his clan, and was said to be the greatest prodigy to be born in the clan in almost 100 years. It is also said that he was the strongest member in his clan to be ever born, since he had complete mastery of the Kaubaton to a level far beyond any other clan member, where he could channel his chakra into thousands of flower petals or even tree leaf and control them all at once and have them spin so fast, and that they would act like thousands of small blades cutting his enemies to pieces. He is even a master genjutsu user. Personality-wise, Byakuya acted in an aristocratic manner. He always seemed serene and apathetic towards other people, even when he was deeply conflicted. He was also extremely calm, even in battle, and was very seldom surprised by even the most drastic of actions. This was due in part to his status in Kumo. As the leader of one of Kumo's most noble clans, he generally acted indifferent, bordering on arrogance, to most situations that he faced where he rarely viewed his enemies or other people worth his time. But despite this trait, Byakuya was a very perceptive man and was fully aware of the limits of his abilities, and usually anything he would state in comparison to a person was justified. Byakuya also strongly believed in law and order and believed that shinobis should do whatever it takes to protect their home and their people from harm. In spite of his icy and regal manner, Byakuya cares for and protects those important to him, which includes family and friends, since despite his cold manner, he does have several friends that he cares about. Byakuya wore a white shitage, a black kozode, a black hakama, a white hakama himo, white tabi, and waraji, and a white haori over the black kozode. He also kept his long shoulder-length black hair and a white headpiece called a kensakan. He also wore fingerless white gloves that covered only the back of his hands and wore a scarf made from the silver-white windflower light silk, which was a family heirloom that was handed down from generation to generation and was given to each Kachiki family head. The scarf alone was worth enough to buy 10 mansions in New Kumagakure. Byakuya was also a highly skilled sword master, where he carried a regular katana with a simple cross guard, which is a simple open frame, much like a 4-pane window. It had a light blue handle. Tatara Hamryo was the leader of the Tatara clan. Hamryo only recently became the leader of the Tatara clan since his grandfather retired as head of the clan and handed it to him. Although Hamryo was the youngest member of the war council, since he was only 18, he was a competent leader and an excellent fighter, which earned him some respect from the other members, although he did not enjoy meetings like these since he preferred to be out on the field doing missions. The Tatara clan was a new clan that joined Kumo during the Civil War. Originally, the Tatara clan isolated themselves from the world when the shinobi villages were first formed, since they did not want to join any village but knew that they would either be forced to join or wiped out in case they became a threat to one of the villages. The Tatara clan hid themselves in a small hidden valley in the mountain ranges of Kumo. It was not until the Civil War began that they were discovered by the Godame Reikage forces. When he learned of their existence, he offered them a place to join Kumo, but they refused, not wanting to join the civil war. Soon after, the Godame Reikage sent a large force of ninjas to destroy them and capture a few members of the clan so that he could breed a new clan under his control later on. Although the attack on the clan was successful, where 300 members of the clan were killed and about 70 others were taken prisoner, 200 members of the Tatara clan were able to escape. Hamryo's father, as well as most of his family, had been killed in that attack, where only his grandfather had survived and led the remainder of their clan to the rebel factions and joined them to avenge what the Godame Reikage had done and to rescue their captured clan members, which they eventually did. During the Civil War, the Tatara clan won great respect and renowned by using their Kekkei Genkai to great effect. The Tatara clan bloodline was called the KMTON Steel Release. This bloodline allowed them to manipulate anything metal into any form they wanted it to be. They could reform metal into almost any kind of weapon or tool they needed. They could also make their bodies as hard as steel. This of course made the clan extremely valuable as ninjas and allies, where after the Civil War they joined Kumo. Personality-wise, Hamryo was a confident young man, borderline cocky. He also rarely lost his calm exterior and was quite intelligent for his age, although he was also eager for action and to prove himself in battle. He was the most gifted user in his clan fighting style and bloodline, where he mastered all his clan's techniques and created some of his own, which proved that he was ready to be clan head. Hamryo's only real defect was that he loved to flirt with pretty girls, which made all the worse since he was quite popular with the girls due to his good looks and cool personality, although he did know when to get serious, and this war council meeting was one of those times when he got serious. Hamryo had black spiky hair and had metal piercings on his ears and above his left eye. He also had dark brown eyes. He wore a light brown jacket and jeans and a blood-red shirt underneath his jacket. He also had black boots on and carried a heavy metal skull chain around his neck and a metal chain around his waist so that he had metal to manipulate if caught in battle unprepared. Ikki Nadi was the leader of the Ikki clan. The Ikki clan had been created when large number of people had been subjected to experiments by the Godame Raikage scientists during the Civil War to try and create new bloodlines by experimenting with people genes with different experiments and using experimental formals on them. In the end of the experiments, hundreds of people died from them and 2 new bloodlines were created. The first was the Ikki clan's bloodline, which enabled its members to pass through solid matter without harm. When this first bloodline was created, the Godame Raikage ordered his scientists to create more people with this ability so as to create an entire clan of the perfect assassins. During that time 220 people were given this ability and were trained to use it to its full extent. Fortunately, Denku, what the Rakudame Raikage was called before he became the Raikage, and the rebels factions found out about the experiments and attacked the base where the experiments were being done and freed all those who were being experimented on, after which they quickly joined the rebel factions to get revenge on the Godame Raikage for what he did to them and for all their friends and families that died during the experiments. After the Civil War, all those with the ability to pass through solid matter without harm decided to form a clan and decided to call their clan the Ikki clan and call their ability Tsuka no Ikki, the passing through spirit limit. They then made Nadi their leader since she was the one to gather them together as a clan and she was the first one to have this ability. Nadi was a young woman who was highly intelligent as well as caring, respectful to others, and quite witty. She was also highly lethal in combat and at using her abilities to their full extent, in which she earned the nickname Rei, Ghost. She wore traditional brown shinobi pants and sandals, as well as a brown hooded jacket with a fishnet shirt underneath it and 2 wrist blades on each arm for quickly silently killing any enemies. Ishida Riken was the leader of the Ishida Clan, and like the Ikki clan, the Ishida Clan had been created due to experiments by the Godame Raikage scientists on people to create new bloodlines. The Ishida bloodline was the second to be created. The new bloodline that the Ishida clan could use was the ability to create weapons out of chakra, allowing them to pierce or slice through any armor or weapon. They also had large chakra reserves and all had flawless control over it. The more skilled members could even draw chakra from around them if they were low on chakra. When the Godame Raikage heard of these abilities, he ordered for more like them to be created and trained to use their new abilities, much like with the Ikki clan, in which 270 people were given these abilities. When the base that they were being held was liberated by the rebel factions, they joined the rebel factions for much of the same reason as the Ikki clan did. After the Civil War, all those with the abilities to create weapons out of chakra decided to form the Ishida clan and decided to call their ability the Ryuryoku no Sauju, manipulating spirit power limit. They also decided to make Riken as the clan head since he was the most powerful of all its members of the new clan. To most people, Riken was a cold man who cared for nothing, yet those that knew him knew he cared deeply for the clan and family since it was his ability to lead and protect them. He did not speak much and would only make his opinion known when it was needed or asked. He was also the very serious type of man who would take any threat to the safety of his clan or Kumo very seriously. Riken wore a typical outfit that all Ishida clan members wore, which was a white, form-fitting, high-collared tunic with a blue cross symbol on his back, which was frequently on all the Ishida clan members' uniforms. Zhao Yun was leader of the Yun clan, who before the Civil War were considered the most powerful clan in Kaminari no Kuni and are still considered that by many. The Yun clan was also one of the 5 only no clans to have a bloodline before the Civil War started, although that changed when it ended. The Yun clan bloodline was called Ryuten, Dragon Release, which gave them increased strength, speed, and power, as well as to be able to transform into humanoid-like dragons, increasing their power exponentially. They even had a summoning contract for dragons. Although considered by many as ninja clan, the Yun clan fought more like samurai than ninjas since they wore armor in battle and used weapons like spears, axes, and long swords in battle, although they also used ninjutsu and had their own types of ninjutsu. Also, the Yun clan were not a clan in Kumo, but were a clan that served and protected the royal family of Kaminari no Kuni, although some members joined Kumo to be ninjas. During the civil war, the Yun clan fought for Daimyo Yoshiaki, even when it was learned that he was the one who had his brother and his family murdered, as well as many of their kinsmen and women who were with Daimyo Dumsan and his family when they were killed. This was because they were swore to protect and serve the Sadok royal family. But when it was learned that the Lady Kicho had survived the attack and was with the rebel factions to overthrow her uncle and reclaim Kaminari no Kuni, they quickly left and joined the rebel factions with as many warriors and samurai that were loyal to Lady Kicho father. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. If you want the next part of this story, let me know in the comment box. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.